What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We're live breaking down game number 67 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing to the Colorado Avalanche in this one 2-1 in a shootout. Unfortunate way to have to end this one in two very strong, very competitive, highly offensively powered teams between the Avalanche and the Toronto Maple Leafs in this one here tonight. And to have to watch it go to a shootout is just an unfortunate way. But as far as the regular season goes, I kind of understand that this is how things have to come to a conclusion. Otherwise, you're probably looking at seeing this go on for hours and hours and hours. And as far as player safety and the quality of games that get played at some point, especially with travel and back-to-backs and stuff, that would just start to run out at some point. So that would just become a rough situation. But yeah, I mean, dropping this one in a shootout to the Avalanche here tonight, it is a tough one. We're gonna keep this one short. We're gonna keep it sweet, and we're gonna get to the point and get out of here. But this isn't going to be a long stream. I'll let you guys know that right now. I appreciate everyone who's watching right now, who's tuning in for this one. If you guys have tuned in, you haven't hit that like button, please make sure to do so. Smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the playoff time, so every subscriber counts. We're getting closer and closer as we get there. We're down to about 15 games left in the regular season, so a little bit of time left for us to get there. So hit that subscribe button. It is greatly appreciated as we go on the road to 5,000 subscribers. But let's start here tonight with what went on in this game. We are looking at a decent game from Morgan Rielly, to be honest. He was a guy who was a very controversial player after the last game that was played on Monday night in the game against Buffalo. Everyone was sitting here, including myself, wondering what the hell do we do with Morgan Rielly? How do we sit here and deal with what has gone on with the contract signing, with how Sheldon Keefe deploys him, the fact that he won't take him off the first power play? What do we do with this guy? He's not doing anything good out here. And you know what? Ultimately, tonight was a better game for him. It was a better game defensively. He scores a goal. I think this was a much better game for Morgan Rielly here. Tonight, and for him to score a goal, I can only imagine he's feeling at least a little bit better about himself in this game. Hold on, I gotta look. I see comments about sleeping. Is the stream on? Is the stream not working? What is going on right now? Like, what am I? No, it's going. I don't know what you guys are saying right now. You guys are tripping me out. I can't figure it out right now. Anyways, back to the game. Morgan Rielly played a much better game tonight. Even there was a situation in the third period where he closed the guy out along the boards, and he's not going to blow the guy up, but he steps across, takes away the time and space, closes out the gap along the boards there, and it's like, that's all you got to do, man. Nobody is going to look at you and expect you to step across and level anyone, but take time and space away. Play physical. Be at least someone that you're not easy to get past. That's what we're looking for out of Morgan Rielly, and he showed that a little bit there in at least the third period, stepping across, getting in front of the guy, take away his positioning, run him out into the boards. Perfect. That's all we need to see out of him. And as far as his 5-on-5 defensive game went tonight, I mean, it's not like it's going to blow you away like you're looking at Cale Makar out there or Victor Hedman or anything like that, but he played a much better 5-on-5 game here tonight. So I was pretty impressed with what we saw from the progression, at least, from Morgan Rielly on Monday night. Now, I know that that's a little bit of a low bar given what we've seen out of him over basically the entire season, and especially what we saw out of Monday night, but it was an improvement. And at the end of the day, that's all you can look for out of that guy. Improve. take a step forward. Take a step forward. He's not going to jump right back to himself in one game. And I think that also goes for Austin Matthews. This guy comes out this morning and sits here and says, I've dealt with a hand injury all year. It's something that's been bothering him. It's been a hindrance for him this season. And I think we've all sat here and noticed that was the case. It's unfortunate because the hand injury or the wrist injury is something that he dealt with last year as well. We all assumed it was a back injury, which I think it probably was at the beginning of the season from that cross-check from Jamie Benn a couple of weeks into the year. It slowed him down a little bit. We didn't see that physical dominance out of him, which I think took things away more than a hand injury would. So I would imagine that was probably something that he was having to deal with early on. But he comes out and says this morning, yep, I've been dealing with an injury. It's been holding me back. I haven't felt the same. Well, Matthews over the last little while has started to look a lot more like Austin Matthews. And in this game here tonight, against superstar players in Mikko Rantanen, a guy who scores his 44th goal of the year tonight, Nathan MacKinnon, as well as Cale Makar, like, that is a team with top-end players who won a Stanley Cup last year. They know how to get it done. And Austin Matthews looked pretty good tonight. He had shifts. He had moments where he looked like dominant Austin Matthews. He stepped out. He looked like a guy who was getting back to where he was during a 60-goal season. Now, obviously not going to get quite to that level, but there was even a shift in the third period. He rips around the boards, protecting the puck. You can't take it off him. You can't push him away. You can't slow him down physically, and he wraps around. Craig Harrison, I saw a comment earlier. I wanted to get to it, and he kind of doubles down here saying Matthews did miss that tap-in in OT. No excuses for that for a guy on his level. I 100% disagree. That pass bounced as it got to his stick. I don't think that's on him. What is he going to do? Like, swat it out of the air, one-timing it off the bounce in that situation where you're trying to one-time it going down to one knee? Like, I 100% disagree. I don't sit here and say, oh, he's got to have that one. He missed it. No, disagree for me. Like, strong disagree. I think that pass was bouncing when it got there. It was a saucer pass coming across, hit the ice just before it got to him, goes to make the one-time play on it, and it just bounced a little bit as he tried to get the shot off. I disagree in that situation. I don't think that's on him, but I mean, to each their own of their opinion of the play. But even when they showed the back angle of it, it bounced as it got there. That was all. Naughty88 saying Avs aren't missing anything substantial other than Nish. Leafs missing O'Reilly. Naughty88 also they are missing Landeskog, their captain. So they are missing that. That is a fairly substantial piece, I would have to say there. And as far as people saying he makes that last year, Matthews scores that last year, we did see him miss those last year. It wasn't like he was scoring on every one of those. And if the pass comes across and it's not the perfect pass, or it's bouncing and stuff as it gets to you and it's slightly behind, I don't necessarily blame him in that situation. Super chat here from Colin McGillis. Colin saying, why not sit Matthews out and allow him to heal his hand injury? What is the point of making him play with an injury? Why not get him back to 100%? This team can still win without him in the lineup. I agree they can win without him. I agree that him coming in, if he's not 100%, is not ideal in terms of him getting back to 100% there and trying to let him recover and recuperate. It's not like he's necessarily the 100% needed in this lineup for the time being. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to get into that spot. It's just a debate of whether or not they're going to be at home ice, or a battle of whether or not they're going to have home ice or be on the road against Tampa in the first round. But look, as far as making him play, I highly doubt that they're making him play. I would imagine he wants to be playing, is saying, yeah, like I would rather be out there than sitting out. But it is kind of confusing, Colin. I would 100% agree, because he dealt with the hand injury last year. He had the surgery. score 60 goals. Now he's got a hand injury again. What is this? Why is this not healed properly? Why is he coming back and jumping into it? It's less so about where he's at right now, and my question would more so come to where he was at the beginning of the year. Like, why was he playing and being forced into the situation at the beginning of the year if he was injured and did have this hand injury? And then we saw what was likely the back injury. Why did he have to play through that? Why not sit him out through that? So I do agree with that. And even on top of this, and I know this isn't 100% where you were going, but Sheldon Keefe to me is making some incredibly ridiculous decisions. I have some serious concerns about Sheldon Keefe's bench management and how he sets lineups, how he sets matchups, how he rotates through guys throughout the course of a game. I'm starting to get to a point where I'm seriously questioning the moves and the decisions that he makes. And I am at a point here with Sheldon Keefe where I'm starting to think that with his bench management, with his decision making, if he continues to operate at this level, this team will not make it out of the first round. Going back to 11-7. Why? Going back to the situation where we had where it was similar to the Monday game where it was much more like we're not playing one pair, two pair, number 5, and then you have 6-7 rotating in and out where it seemed to work pretty well. You get to get a look at both of those guys. You can play them in different situations. He basically just said, forget it. Go back to the whole rotate. Everybody play with everybody. Get to see nobody consistently out there. Nobody gets into any type of rhythm. It just went to a weird place again. The forwards goes to a weird place again. This is a guy who continues to love the idea of Kerfoot playing in the top of the lineup. We didn't see it as much here tonight. We did see Yarncroke playing up in the top more and more often than Kerfoot, but you still see him hop out there every now and then with the top lines, and you kind of go, why? I don't understand. And then the one thing that really concerns me a lot about Sheldon Keefe and where he's at and the decisions that he makes is the significant number of bench penalties that get taken. These are not chirping from the bench. These are not sticking guys from the bench or grabbing a puck off the bench. These are too many men penalties, and we have seen this team take so many too many men penalties. I have been on enough benches. I know Colin has been on enough benches. I know Rob Platy's been on enough benches. I know there's probably a lot of other people in this chat who have been on enough benches. The too many men penalties start at the coach. You are playing in the NHL. At this point, the only answer to me, the only reason, the solution for all of this and reasoning why this is happening is because miscommunication and confusion from the coach. He's sitting there and doesn't know who the hell to put out on the ice in any type of situation. Power play's coming to an end. You 7 seconds left on the power play, 10 seconds left, whatever it was. Sheldon Keefe has no idea who to put out there. He has no idea what the next line should be. He's busy looking at Colorado. He's mad about the penalties, mad about the power play. He's yelling at an assistant coach. He's doing whatever the hell he's doing, and he's not paying attention to the lines rotating through. Next thing you know, Michael Bunting's hopping out there, and you're in a situation now where you're getting another too many men. And if this is an isolated incident, this is just happens tonight, whatever. I don't care. Move on from it. It is what it is. But to me, this is a situation where we're looking back over the course of the season and how many times this has happened. It happened last year as well. It happened the year before that. And it's just confusing because you're playing professional hockey every now and then. Yes, 100% it happens. And it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about some of them. There's just accidents that happen. There's a mistake. Someone hears something wrong. But the thing is, it's so consistent with how often they're going out there and this is happening. Absurd to me that this is a consistent theme that we have to continue to watch. Craig Harrison saying, putting Riley and Hull together that many games is grounds to be fired. Yeah, putting McCabe with Hull, like bringing McCabe's level of play down, probably similar level there. Six and a third saying, Zach, he must be thinking a million things at once right now. He needs to let his mind breathe a little. I agree. I think that this is to a point where it's like, let the flow of the game happen. He's trying too much, it seems. He's overthinking this. And it's like, you have some of the best players in the world. Let them be the best players in the world. You've seen Michael Bunting perform well with Matthews and Marner. Let them go. Let them be the best players in the world. Let Nylander jump into that spot if that's where you feel he's comfortable. Like, stop overthinking this and having to go mega brain and just switch lines every 10 seconds. And that confuses people. It confuses the assistant coach, confuses the D coach, confuses the players on the team. Like, this is just becoming far too confusing. And then to six and a third's point, like, it's getting to the point where he's just confusing himself. Nobody knows what the hell is going on at any given moment out there. And then you end up with bench penalties. You end up with too many men's. You end up with bad changes, sloppy turnover. Like, you end up with just a gong show going on. It just gets to like a very frustrating point. David Gerard, Keefe is not an A1 coach. Is he good? Maybe, but not A1. I would agree with that. RJWI says, to be honest, I agree with Zach. I do have to say there were too many penalties again. Gio is an example. Yeah, too many penalties. And then Craig Harrison saying, wrong comment. There you go. Keefe didn't even realize there was 6 guys on the ice until the penalty was called. Yes. Like, this is where I'm at with this, is like, he seems like he's got no idea. He's like losing. It's not even like losing control, because it's not like he's like lost the players or anything like that. It's just that he just seems to have no idea what's going on at different points. It's very confusing. Corey Vanderland, the only 2 things I was upset about tonight was the lack of shots and penalties from the players. Am I the only one who thought, apart from that, they played good? No, I think they played well. I think they played good as well. Looking at the shots, 18 shots, yeah, that's not the greatest. I do look at this, though, and kind of think that some of it is a, what do you call it? Like, one thing leads to the other. You spend 10 minutes of your game killing penalties against the Colorado Avalanche. It's obviously going to immediately cut into the amount of shots that you can gain. 10 minutes of your 60-minute game killing penalties. It's going to be hard. The other thing here is Colorado is a solid defensive and shot suppression team. They're not giving up too many shots, and even the ones that they are giving up aren't that high danger on a normal basis. So add in 10 minutes more of shots for the Leafs tonight. Maybe you get yourself to 23-24, and I don't think we bat an eye, but you did spend 10 minutes of the game killing penalties, so it hurts again to the point where it's like, all right, it takes away opportunities to get shots in those positions. 18 shots on goal, not the greatest. But that being said, like, great, it was a great defensive effort from this Leafs team. You did have 10 minutes. You killed off 4 of 5 against Colorado. That, to me, I think is a solid thing there for this penalty kill. It probably makes them feel good at the end of the day. But I'll continue going through the chat here and picking out things and discussing what you guys are talking about. Keefe is under tremendous pressure, to be fair. Look at the position he's in with the playoffs coming from 6 1/3 there. Yeah, I mean, that I understand that he is, but again, and 6 1/3, like I'm sure you'll understand, is he's gone to the playoffs now a couple of years. This isn't his first season going to the playoffs. It's not his first season in Toronto, and it's not his first season coaching this team or these players. He needs to just stop overthinking this. You're in the regular season right now. Let the guys get comfortable. Let them play loose and gain some chemistry. And like, you've built the structure into the team, the strategy, the systems all year long. If you are making drastic changes to all of those things right now, we're going to have much bigger problems come playoff time. That's the honest truth. If you're making new penalty kills, new power play, new defensive zone systems, new neutral zone play, like, you are screwing yourself over drastically. If that's what's going on behind the scenes and this is what he's stressed out about, just I will bet all the money I have on Tampa Bay beating the Toronto Maple Leafs in the first round, if that's what's going on, because I think it's hard for anybody to overcome that, let alone like top teams in the league. Like let alone this Leafs team. I don't think that that's a good spot, and I get the pressure, but like figure it out, dude, because if you're experiencing this pressure right now in the regular season, when you've already locked in a playoff spot, you're not even debating whether or not you're going to get to a playoffs. Right now, you are looking at a playoff spot. And you are going to be in 100%. Like, let it go. Handshake line respect. Keith's been a concern since he lost the 3-1 series to the Habs. Craig Harrison, I mean, yeah, fair enough. Dubas kind of put a hot potato in Keith's lap by getting so many new players at the deadline. Kind of, but it really shouldn't be that difficult. You added Lafferty, you added Achari. They're both bottom 6 guys. You took out Engvall. You only really had one guy to juggle around that you had to figure out. And Sheldon Keefe decided that instead he's just going to put himself in a position where he's going to go with 11 now. Like he's overthinking this. He's galaxy braining himself into a pit, into a tunnel here. So, yeah. I get it. I don't 100%. I don't disagree with what you're saying, Craig. But I just think like the forwards, it's not that hard to figure out. The defense, yeah, there's some more questions to be asked. These are things that we've all discussed on this show. It's something we've gone back and forth about. We've had callers call in and talk about it. Like it has been something that we've gone back and forth with and tried to debate. How do you line up the defense? I agree that that's a more difficult situation there that you're trying to figure out. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's as hard as he's making it on himself. I just want to remind people right now, if you're watching and you haven't hit subscribe to this channel, please make sure you do so. We are trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the playoff time, so hit that subscribe button. And if you're watching right now, hit that like button. We'll try to get to 50. You guys know what happens every 50 likes. I don't have to say. And for if you're new here right now, you want to know what happens at 50 likes, just hit the like button. You'll find out. Just hit the like button. Nicole Boomer with a interesting point here. They should just do a day where the players pick their own lines where they feel the most confident and just pay Keefe to go to dinner or peace out somewhere. The second part, obviously, I think Nicole is joking. But the first part, I don't think it's that ridiculous. I don't understand why Sheldon Keefe can't go to I don't understand why Sheldon Keefe can't go to Matthews and say, who do you want on your line? Who do you want to play with? I don't understand why you can't go to Mitch Marner and John Tavares and sit them down in a meeting and say, guys, how do you want to build this out? Who do you want to play with? Figure out who they want to play with. Let them play with those guys. It should not be that hard. The amount of stories that we've heard of the old-time hockey guys who said that they would go into the room and just say, I'm playing with this guy or put this guy on my line and tell the coach basically like put him on my line or go figure it out. Why? Why can't you go to your superstar players that you're paying $10, $11, $12 million to and ask them, who do you want to play with, instead of jerking them around and putting Alex Kerfoot on the first line next to Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, and he's a guy who can't do it. So, yeah, John Grayson saying Sheldon is coach, not Matthews. Yeah, I get that, but you have to let the players get to a position that they can play with people they're comfortable with, and this is not a new thing. This is not me coming up with something brand new out of the clouds and saying, well, why can't this happen? It literally happens in minor hockey where coaches ask players who they're comfortable with and asking players what they want to do. So I think that that's a little bit of a ridiculous comment. I'm sorry, John, but I think it is. Like, you need to listen to player input. And if you're not going to listen to player input, you should be fired. So if Sheldon Keefe is not listening to Matthews or has no interest in what Matthews has to say about who he wants to play with and who his line mates should be and whose preference would be, fire him. Send him to the moon, because that is ridiculous. You should be listening to player input. You should be paying attention to that kind of stuff, taking it all into account and building situations out off of that. So, Nicole, good point. I actually kind of agree. Sending him to dinner or lunch or whatever and making him skip practice is just a funny point that you're making there. But point taken nonetheless. I do understand what you're saying. 6 1/3. Zach needs to address the locker room. I like the thinking. I'm in. Send me in there. Let's get the boys going. Get the boys fired up. I'll start tossing around some fire up statements, some comments, and get things happening. And we'll switch the lines up. We'll ask the boys who they want to play with, and then you sort it out from there. That's what you do. Like, one thing I wonder is, even, has he had a conversation with the defenseman? Has he asked Gio who he wants to play with, who he's most comfortable with? Has he asked Riley who he's most comfortable with, or TJ Brody who he's ask. Because at this point it seems like he hasn't, because every single shift he switches it up. 6 1/3 saying Zach on a real key four-path tonight. I kind of am. I mean, honestly, I was set off by the comments that he made last week, maybe, where he said that Timothy Liljegren wasn't playing because he holds the D to a high standard. Like, that made my brain explode, as Liljegren's been the second best defenseman on this team all year. And then I've just started to notice, like, the way that this thing is run, the lines, the changing of things all the time, the 7 and 11, like, it's getting confusing. These guys can't figure things out. The blender is just on permanently, like, turning the blender on every now and then and switching things up and seeing what you can find out about players and about guys and how they play together every now and then, or just saying, like, hey, you guys aren't playing well enough, switch this up for the period or for the rest of this game. I'm fine with that. But to have the blender going, like, from warm-ups through to the end of the game, that to me just reaches a point of absurdity where it's like, nobody is ever comfortable. Like, nobody's ever comfortable. And it's just, it looks uncomfortable out there. So it's not even like a speculation. It's just straight up, it looks uncomfortable. I can't get my head around it. So, I am frustrated with Keefe. And the other thing is here, 6 1/3 is with this, is like, I think the Leafs played pretty well tonight. I don't have too much to complain about for their level of play. I think Morgan Riley played pretty well. I think Justin Hall was fine. He leveled a guy here tonight. Like, he didn't do anything impressive. He did have some stupid doi moments. One of them, honestly, as well, was one of the one that I was really bad, and it was like one of those ones that burns you in the playoffs, was as Jake McCabe steps up the side, he hinges back to Justin Hall, back in the over at the hash marks in the zone on the far side, and Justin Hall just stood there instead of immediately moving his feet and just stick handling, waiting for pressure to come. Pressure came, and he fires a no-look backhander around the boards, which McCabe has to go fire down to. He gets to the puck, and the Leafs end up getting pinned in their own zone, because by the time McCabe goes and gets the puck, now he has pressure on him. So, like, plays like that can't happen. There were some missed passes and stuff, but, like, other than that, like, he played not bad tonight. John Greystone saying if it was up to players, Campbell would still be here. I mean, John, if you're going to be a hardo about it and say, like, oh, like, this guy would still be here, this guy would still be here, like, get a grip, brother. You have to go and ask players what they want to do. You want to talk about a guy who never considered what anybody thought or anybody wanted to do? Mike Babcock, how did that turn out? He's one of the most hated coaches. Everyone says that they won in spite of him. He's not the Red Wings teams won in spite of him. The Olympic teams won in spite of him. It had there's plenty of players who speak out and say that what he did was nothing to do with what went on the ice. And so you want to sit here and be hard about, oh yeah, this has to happen. Like, there you go. Mike Babcock. He is widely hated, and everyone says they won in spite of him. They won because of how much they hated him. And you can sit here and say they loved Campbell, didn't they? Yeah, they did love Campbell. They loved him as the person. That doesn't mean they loved playing with him. They loved Justin Hall. Doesn't mean they loved playing with him. They seem to be friends with Kerfoot. Doesn't mean they love playing with him. John, these guys are NHL players, John. They're well aware of how to win and how to succeed and who's going to help them succeed. They're not complete idiots. So if you think this is just a love fest sitting around holding each other's hands in the dressing room, that's great. But the reality of the situation is it's not. These guys are professionals. They understand this is a business. This is what's going to happen. They know what they need to do in order to win or who's going to help them for the best position of success. I'm sure that they love Wayne Simmons too. I'm sure that they love Jordy Ben as well. They're probably friends with Travis Dermott too. But these guys aren't idiots. They're well aware of who these guys are and how they're going to help them succeed. The players around them are going to help them succeed. So you ask for player input, John. You ask for player input. This is not that hard of a concept to grasp, truthfully. So, yeah. I don't get where we're at here. I don't get. I honestly, just ridiculous statement. I'm not even going to put it lightly. Like, that's an absurd statement that we're making at this point in time. Like, You can think what you'd like, but I'm just going to tell you right now, that is flat out absurd. Jared Bednar is asking, guys, you think Mike Sullivan isn't asking Sidney Crosby who he wants to play with? You think Jay Woodcroft isn't talking to Connor McDavid who he wants to play with? Take your head out of your ass. That's where we're at. Absurd. I'm not addressing some of these comments. You guys can sort some of that stuff out yourself in the chat. You can ask it. But I'm just going to leave some of these things in the chat. You guys are on some next level stuff there. All right. I do want to talk a little bit about this power play. Okay? This power play is currently second in the NHL. Thank you, Rob. Love you too, man. This power play is currently second in the NHL. I truthfully look at this and am like astonished that they're in that position. And I think more than anything, it's because they're in a position with how much skill that they have on it, that it just in the regular season, they are able to skill themselves to score. And what I mean by that is that the power play itself is not that good. The way that the power play enters the zone, the way they set up, and the way that they get things going around, I don't think it's that good. I think that it's actually fairly inefficient. I think there's a lot to be desired with this power play. I think that the stubbornness of continuing to put Morgan Riley out there, I know he scored tonight, and tonight's a bad example of it, but I think that it's just so stubborn to like not be interested in trying. And one thing that I continue to look at is Gustafsson was playing incredible in Washington's power play. He gets brought in as insurance over for Sandin, and you just wouldn't play him. They tried him out there for a shift on the power play for about like 30 seconds. He looked fine in that period of time, But then it just got to a point where it was like, okay, he's back out, Riley's back out there again, and then it just becomes so predictable. And I think that's more my frustration with it, is like once you get to the playoff time, the predictability, it becomes much easier to just shut down, because all you're doing is studying the other team's power play. You're studying the way that they operate, they enter the zone. You spend so much time with your assistant coaches, and then when you get to practice situations, they try things where they will have a unit operate as the Leafs power play. They will also then have a unit operate as the Leafs penalty kill to pretend to defend against it. Like, it is not an uncommon practice to have this happen. So then you get out there and you look at this Leafs power play. It's so predictable that once you get that much time to focus on it for a 7-game series, as opposed to just, oh, we're going through Toronto on our way through, we're on a road trip here, it's one game that we're playing against them, you're not really worried about it, then it becomes a much bigger problem. And I think that that's something that's become evident over the last couple of years, because once they've gotten to the playoffs, the power play has effectively disappeared and it's become a non-factor from this team. And during the regular season, it's so effective. But again, I go back to the point where I genuinely think that one of the reasons it is so effective in the regular season is because they have so much skill out there. And they're just able to skill their way through the power play, where if you have more guys on the ice than the other team, naturally you are going to score more goals than you are not in those situations, because you just have that much talent out on the ice at all times. So I just have concerns with the predictability, and I don't know whether this is being coached into them. I don't know whether this is something that they're being told not to do these creative things. I'm not sure what it is, or I don't know if maybe it's that they're afraid to do these creative things. But either way, for me, it's just got to change. It's got to be fixed up, and just show some level of creativity. Show some creativity. Maybe switch up who you have out there as your defenseman to quarterback that power play. Last thing before I get into play of the game, there's a question here, and I also want to remind everybody, if you haven't hit like on this stream yet, please make sure to do so. We're 5 away from 50, but there's 130 people watching right now. No reason we can't get to that 50. Honestly, no reason we can't get to 100 likes on this stream, so hit that like button, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the Leafs Digest channel. Trying to get to 5,000. A lot of you who are watching the live streams are subscribed to the channel, but for those who aren't, please make sure to subscribe. It is greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 5K by playoff time, so like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. RJWI asking me, talk about Sammy and how they play defensively. Look, it is abundantly clear at this point in time, Ilya Samsonov is game 1 starter come playoffs. I think there's no way around that. There is no way around that. Matt Murray, in I believe it is 4 of his last 5 games, has now allowed 4 or more goals. He's looked shaky. He is not a guy you can rely on from an injury or illness perspective. He's also a guy who seems to just get concerned about going in the net and pull the chute and say, I can't go in there, and then decides not to go in. So Murray is concerning to me, and on top of that, Samsonov is playing very well. Look at the game against New Jersey the other night. Opens up the first period. The Leafs started very, very slow. Samsonov held them in it and gave them some type of opportunity to win that game. Samsonov has been very good for the majority of the season. I would say up to this point, he's been good for about 90% of the year. There's about a 10% stretch where he's kind of dropped off. And it's unfortunate. You hope that it doesn't happen come playoff time. But that's the way it is right now. It is the way it is. I think he's the number 1 guy come playoff time. I don't think that there's any question about it. All right, guys. 50 likes. If you're new here and you didn't know, this is what happens when you get to the 50. Pain. Whoa. All right. Oh, there you go. There's the 50. If you're new here, that's what happens. Every 50 likes on this stream, bring out the salts. All right. Now, the other thing RJW I was asking about here is how they play defensively tonight. I don't think there's too much else to say on top of what I've already said about this team and this game tonight and how they played. I think that this was a solid game defensively from the team as a whole. Yes, the Avalanche generated 29 shots on net, but I look at this one, it didn't feel like there was too many crazy good chances for the Avs. The other thing that I look at is the Avs had 10 minutes of power play time. That is naturally going to put them in a position to have significantly more shots. I think you don't have those 10. Two things happen. One, your shots on goal goes up, obviously, and then the natural correlation of it would be that Colorado's comes down. They're not capable of generating as many as say the Leafs are or as they were in this game, because the Leafs defense is able to step up and not have to play a man down against Landeskog or against MacKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, Nichushkin. Like, that is a good, solid power play who snaps the puck around quick, creates offensive opportunities, high danger spots, gets great looks on your net, and you ultimately end up probably limiting a lot more than that. But even with those 29, they never really put Samsonov in a position where he had to make crazy saves, crazy stops, or had to do anything ridiculous. So, yes, as far as tonight's game goes, I think this team took a step up defensively and played pretty well here. And I think a lot of that has to do with Morgan Rielly played a whole lot better. Let's get to our Austin Matthews play of the game. I told you guys it's not going to be a longer stream here tonight. I appreciate everyone who's tuned in. If you want to get it up to 100 likes and see me do the salts again, please make sure to do so. There's 120 people watching, so very easily could get it up to 100 likes again. But let's get to our play of the game, and I want to hear what you guys have to say in the chat for what your play of the game is. All right. Austin Matthews play of the game. This one is going to be a little bit of a homer pick here because it is named after him. He didn't score on the play, but it's going to be the Matthews play in the third period where he defended the puck or protected the puck all the way around the zone, holding it around the outside, protecting it. Nobody can knock the puck off him, creates an opportunity out front, and then rips around and takes a shot on the backhand. That, to me, is vintage Austin Matthews. That, to me, is the Austin Matthews that we saw last year. And I think more and more every day, we are getting back to a position where we are seeing him start to elevate himself up to that spot where he can be that player here again and he can bring that game back. So for me, that was the play because it just showed where Austin Matthews was at in terms of starting to turn himself back into the player that we've seen in the past couple of years, where he is that dominant player who can take over a game, take over positioning, and start to do that stuff with his physicality, with his physical presence, where he's not going to be pushed off the puck, lose a play, anything like that. So that's my play of the game. I know that there was no goal on it, but for me, it was just a great look for Matthews. And then the thing is, too, he was able to do it again not too long after, where he came around the net and then he actually stops and turns around and fires a shot back. If that ends up on net, it could potentially go for a rebound. It could have its opportunity to go in, or it could be tipped in front of the net there. So I think that first play for me is the play of the game, but I see here HurtLocker66 saying Sammy's breakaway save for me is his. I think that that's probably a pretty good one as well. I mean, looking at that one, Samsonov made some incredible saves here tonight. He didn't have to make too many. He didn't have to make too many ridiculous stops. But yeah, like, it was a good night for him, and I think that that is a very, very valid play of the game. Now, the other one is Corey V saying, mine was Marner's nice pass to Rielly for the goal. brilliant pass, and Mitch Marner has been a magician all season long, ripping that pass across to Morgan Rielly for him to step in, and Morgan Rielly to actually buried is definitely deserving of an honorable mention. So, yeah, shout out to that one. I think that was a great play as well, and definitely worthy of a shout out here on the Leafs Digest show for the play of the game as an honorable mention for me. Finally, final segment, grades of the game. Fire your grades away in the chat. Let's see them. Vincent Lee saying MacKinnon shootout goal is his play of the game. Fair enough. Grades of the game here. Let's get to it. Let's figure out what we got. I think I'll go with a B plus. I'll go with a B plus. I think that that's fair. Look, you only generated 18 shots on goal. That being said, you scored a legitimate goal, and the goal that was scored against you was deflected in off your own player. It's not McCabe's fault. I don't really blame Samsonov for that one either. So I'll go with the B plus on this one because other than that, you probably end up in a spot where you actually could have won this game. Samsonov plays very well. Looking at his stats here on the night, like Samsonov ends up with 28 saves on 29 shots and a .966 save percentage, having to face 10 minutes of Avalanche power play time, having to face those lethal shooters. He did have to make some point-blank saves. Even looking at Rodriguez in the third period there, getting to walk down the slot after an incredible play by Matthews down the other end. Like, there were some great things that happened from this Leafs team tonight, but this is not going to be an A-plus type of game. We won the face-off battle in this one, winning 54% of them. You're stayed right level with Colorado in terms of hits. We didn't seem out physically matched or by any means. Like, I think that this was a good game, and if you want to sit here and say, well, Landeskog was out, so if he comes back, they're more physical. Well, O'Reilly was out, so if he comes back, they're a little bit more physical. There's a lot of things that you could consider in that. But yeah, I think this is fine. You end up with a point out of this game here as well. And with the block shots, the Leafs blocked 22 shots tonight. The Avalanche blocked 12. The Leafs played a much, much better defensive game tonight. They kept things close. They played a tight, solid game against a very good Colorado team who's been buzzing a little bit more lately, who's been a little bit more hungry for points as they try to push to the top of the division. So a B plus for me on tonight's game. But all right. Craig Harrison saying Lightning really messed up the deadline too. They overpaid for Jeannot, who has done nothing for them. Yeah, we'll see what happens once we get to the playoffs. That team is in a little bit of a weird spot right now mentally. The way that they're actually playing, it's been very strange. So yes, it's been very interesting for them. But yeah, all right. I think that's going to do it for me tonight. I think you guys can tell I'm a little bit under the weather. I got some big things coming up the next couple of days. I believe there's a possibility I'm going to be late to this stream on Friday. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything that I can to get here on time for the stream on Friday, but there is a possibility I'll be late. So if it starts late, I'm sorry. I'll send messages in the Discord. I'm sure that our guys like RJWI and Andrew and everyone can see that, and we'll hopefully pass along the message into the YouTube. I'll try to get it scheduled ahead of time so you guys can at least see it, but there is a possibility I'm late, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to try my best, but that might be the case on Friday. But Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in here tonight. I really appreciate it. If you haven't hit like on this stream already, please make sure to do so before you leave. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, you can also do that. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the playoff time, so hit that subscribe button. Help us out. Leafs lose this one, game 67 in the regular season to the Colorado Avalanche, 2-1 in a shootout here tonight, going to 40-18-9 on the season. Elias Samsonov has a great night, 28 saves, a .966 save percentage. Unfortunately, walks away with the loss of this one, but Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you over the next couple of games, as we do have a bunch in a short amount of time. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Most importantly, keep believing.